There are some really cool books coming out in April 2022. But before I get to them, I do want to just say that I have a bit of a life update thing. I don't know how many videos I'll be putting out in April because I am incredibly busy and incredibly stressed. I am hopefully, if all goes well, and it should do, moving back to Japan in a few weeks' time towards the end of April. I don't have a lot of time to do this. Even though it's something I wanted and it's something that I've been planning for a long time, it's still kind of snuck up on me just in terms of time. And I have so much to do and so much to plan. It's dizzying. It's really intense. So forgive me if I don't put out that many videos in April, just bear with me. If you want to support me, you can join my Patreon. That'll help alleviate some of the financial stress of all this. And also, I have to say goodbye to this house I've been living in now for 18 months. Jess is moving somewhere different, and I have to say goodbye to Snowy, the cat that you sometimes see in these videos. Snowy was never our cat, and I knew that I would have to say goodbye to her at some point. Didn't know when that was going to be exactly, and it's soon. So this is all quite a lot. When I get to Tokyo, I will make a video about it. Until then, these are some great books coming out in April. First up is probably what I'm most excited about, a pair of really awesome Korean novels. This is Violets by Kyungsook Shin. Kyungsook Shin is one of the most beloved contemporary authors coming out of Korea. I've read quite a few of her novels and I love them all. To varying degrees, but they are all spectacular in their own way. Please Look After Mum is one I particularly enjoyed. That novel apparently took her like 10 plus years to write, and you can kind of tell it was so perfectly crafted and paced and meticulous and considered, etc. Violets is her newest novel, and it's translated by Anton Hur. Now, Anton Hur is a friend of mine, and I've talked about him quite a lot because he's just been longlisted for the International Booker Prize twice in 1 year for 2 different books, and one of those was Cursed Bunny, one of my favourite short story collections ever, and Anton is handling translation for Violets. I'm just going to read you the blurb, and I'm going to do that for quite a lot of these because, as I said, I'm quite stressed right now and I haven't planned this very well. San is a young girl ostracised from her community. After a moment of intimacy with her only friend, a girl called Namae, San experiences a violent rejection that sets her on a troubling path of quashed desire and isolation. A story about a young woman who everyone forgot. Violets is a captivating and sensual read full of tragedy and beauty. And it's also, by the way, set in 1970 in South Korea. I am so looking forward to this. I will be doing a review. Even if I'm swamped, even if I'm stressed, I'm going to be reading this and doing a dedicated review around probably the middle of April. And this is Concerning My Daughter by Kim Hye Jin. I've never read this author before, I don't think. But this is published by Picador. Picador sent us this proof, and they always pick such fantastic Japanese and Korean novels. They publish the works of Mieko Kawakami, who is my favorite Japanese author, and I know that this is going to be a fantastic piece of work, especially because it's translated by Jamie Chang, who has been doing some really great stuff recently as a Korean to English translator. When a mother allows her 30-something daughter to move into her apartment, she wants for her what many parents might say they want for their child: a steady income, and even better, a good husband with a good job to start a family with. But when Green arrives with her girlfriend Lane in tow, her mother is unprepared and unwilling to welcome Lane into her home. In fact, she can barely bring herself to be civil. Her queer daughter's definition of family is not one she can accept. Okay, this is going to be tough. This is going to be really tough. So what we have here, at least from the blurbs, it looks like are 2 Korean novels that are both queer, specifically lesbian novels. Queer East Asian fiction is something that I'm always excited to see more and more of, because queer fiction is something I care so deeply about as a queer reader, and I love fiction from East Asia more than anything else. So when those 2 coincide, I get very excited, and I find it very important to talk about. So I will be reading and reviewing both of these Korean novels in April very soon. Before I forget, I don't have this. I was sent an e-arc, digital copy, so I'm gonna forget about it if I don't mention it right now. Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. I haven't read it yet. Jess read it, and I think a few of my friends have read it already. It comes out very soon, sometime this month. I need to read it soon. I still haven't read The Glass Hotel. Anyway, I do have a review copy of Sea of Tranquility, and it sounds Really, really fun. A sci-fi book, partially set on Mars, and I don't know, I can't remember. Anyway, everyone's going to be super excited for this. Everyone loves Emily St. John Mandel. Everyone loves Station 11. I've got a video on Station 11 where I thought that it was a very good book, but the hype is just so extreme for that book. Anyway, she's an amazing writer, and I'm really excited to read Sea of Tranquility. It is on my list, and I'll hopefully get to it. Now, this is something truly, truly unique. A Chilean novel, published by Charco Press, one of my favorite indie presses, but for the first time ever, Charco have published a kind of companion to one of their novels. This is the translator of the novel, Daniel Hahn, writing a diary of his experience translating that novel. This is a translator's diary. Diamela El Tit, I don't know if I'm saying the name wrong, I apologize, is a legendary Chilean author, and this is a book called Never Did the Fire. A literary icon in Chile and a major figure in the anti-Pinochet resistance, Diamela El Tit burns brightly here in this, one of her most iconic works. A shifting, uneasy novel of breakdowns. Hold up together, old, ill, and untethered from the revolutionary action that defined them, a couple's bonds dissolve in the loss of both their child and their ideology. Where can we put our faith when the structures we have built or succumbed to no longer offer any comfort or prospect of salvation? I am very, very, very excited to read this. As someone who spends so much of their time getting upset with conservative governments and fears the direction that a lot of conservative governments are going in and taking their countries in, including mine, I think this is something that's going to really, really hit me hard, and I'm excited for that. And Catching Fire is Daniel Hahn's translation diary, his experience of translating this novel into English. If you don't know his name, Daniel Hahn is one of the most treasured and beloved translators out there from any language into English. His legacy is huge. People adore what Daniel Hahn does, and for good reason. He is so well thought of in the translation community, and the fact that we have a diary of his is just so cool. So I'm going to try and read these two books together, and if I have time, review them both together in one video, but we'll see. This is pretty amazing. The Arena of the Unwell. Liam Connerman is a British transgender author. He wrote The Appendix, which was a short piece of non-fiction. It was published by 404 Inc., who have also published this. And The Appendix is this gorgeous thing. It's a yellow cover with a picture of a Doc Martin on it. The subtitle of it was something like Transmask Joy in a Transphobic Country. Something like that. You know, Britain is a very transphobic country. It is the leading nation of the world in terms of transphobia. Part of the reason I want to leave. And Liam Connerman has written this beautiful appendix, but now we have a novel by him. The Arena of the Unwell follows 20-something Noah as he is drawn into the codependent relationship of two older men in the indie music scene. In the absence of any real purpose, Noah spends his nights drifting between North London pubs and music venues, and his days sleeping off hangovers in the stockroom of the floundering record shop where he works. He tries not to think about what'll happen when the NHS allocated therapy hours run out and he's left alone with his mind again. Then his favourite band, Smiling Politely, announce a last-minute set in a small venue. When the crowd turns violent, Noah runs into the street where he meets Dylan, the charming local barman he's never quite had the courage to approach. Sounds like a very, very grounded piece of queer fiction. It sounds like the exact kind of thing that I'd like to read right now, and I'm really hoping I get to it because Liam is a talented writer, 404 Inc. are an awesome publisher, and it's cool that he's finally got his debut piece of fiction out. I actually don't know when this came out. It might be out already, or it might be out in April, and I didn't think to check. The Trees by Percival Everett. Percival Everett is a very well-renowned American author, but his books haven't made it to the UK. For some reason, UK publishers have just not picked up his books, and so Influx pressed it. Influx are, again, one of my favourite indie publishers in the UK, and they have been steadily publishing a lot of Percival Everett's stuff over the last year or two. I've read one of his short story collections, and now we have The Trees. The Trees is a page-turner that opens with a series of brutal murders in the rural town of Money, Mississippi. When a pair of detectives from the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation arrive, they meet expected resistance from the local sheriff, his deputy, the coroner, and a string of racist white townsfolk. The murders present a puzzle For at each crime scene there is a second dead body, that of a man who resembles Emmett Till, a young black boy lynched in the same town 65 years before. This is going to be fun. It's quite a dense and thick novel, so I don't know when I'll get to it. I'll probably throw it in my suitcase and take it to Tokyo if I don't have time to read it now. And that's going to happen with quite a few books and review copies. But I need to bring this to everyone's attention because Percival Everett is a really wonderful and quite underrated American author, and I need more people to read him, especially now that he's available in the UK. Thank you, Influx Press. And finally, this isn't really worth holding up because it's a Fitzcarraldo review copy and this is how they do them. This is Emergency, and I don't know anything about this book. It's written by Daisy Hildyard, and I really am kind of looking at it for the first time now, which I feel quite bad about. Emergency is a novel about the dissolving boundaries between life on Earth. Stuck at home alone under lockdown, a woman recounts her 1990s childhood in rural Yorkshire. So far that sounds like my life. I've just been through a lockdown, as we all have, and I grew up in the 1990s in a rural area. She watches a kestrel hunting, helps a farmer with a renegade bull, and plays out with her best friend Claire. Around her in the village, her neighbours are arguing, keeping secrets, caring for one another, trying to hold down jobs. In the woods and the quarry, there are fox cubs fighting, plants competing for space, aging machines, and a three-legged deer who likes cake. These local phenomena interconnect and spread out from China to Nicaragua. As pesticides circulate, money flows around the planet, and bodies feel the force of distant power. A story of remote violence and a work of praise for persistently lively world. Brilliantly written, surprising, evocative, and unsettling. Cheapers. Okay, so some of this is going to hit home for me, but it seems like a lot of it won't, depending on how surreal it ends up being, which I think the blurb subtly implies. We'll see. Definitely the kind of thing I wouldn't mind taking with me to Japan that would kind of evoke my memories and nostalgia in some way. We'll see. That's everything that I have coming out in April. There are things I might have forgotten or don't know about, as always. If you know of some books coming out in April, let me know in the comments, and also let me know which ones that you're excited to read. I'm also aware that I haven't sounded super enthusiastic throughout this video, and it's just because my nerves and my stress are kind of getting to me at the moment. I am very excited to be going back to Japan. It's what I've been waiting to do for the last 2 years. I think the stress of it all coming down on my head so suddenly and so quickly is just more than I'm very good at bearing these days. But when I get to Japan, I will be making a video about the fact that I'm there and I'm happy and I'm excited. So look out for that. In the meantime, I will put out as many videos in April as possible, and I'll definitely be reviewing some of these books. Subscribe for books.